Hello everyone, what's up? Pretty Team here with another video review of The Mandalorian. Today we are going to be taking a look at Chapter 20, The Foundling, the fourth episode of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, and that means we are unfortunately halfway through already. I love this show, but I hate this show because the seasons are so short, so it's like, dang it, we're already halfway through, we've only got 4 weeks left. But it's good, So anyway, this was an interesting episode for many, many reasons. And this, I feel like that in some ways, this is kind of like what the Bad Batch just did, where it's like, okay, you know what, we're gonna slow down for just a moment. We're gonna take a little bit of a break. Not really. I mean, we're still gonna be progressing the story, but it's not gonna be as intense. We're gonna have a little bit of action, a little bit of conflict, just so that way, you Neanderthals that need action to find something enjoyable. So that way, you are still engaged. You are still interested. It is still Star Wars because there's wars, because there's violence and stuff. All that stuff is still going on. But you know what? We are just gonna throttle down a little bit and take a little breather. Just a little bit of breather. We're not going on any epic quests. There's not any espionage going on with betrayals and all that stuff. We're not figuring out what the soul of a Mandalorian is or anything like that. It's just a simple rescue mission, really. That's all it is, with some traumatic PTSD filled flashbacks for good measure. I really enjoyed this episode. It wasn't as thinky as the last episode, so I think a lot of people are probably going to prefer this one over the last one. But I excuse me. But I really liked this one. I thought it was good with most everything it did. I think what was mostly important this week was showing Bo-Katan actually being a natural leader, because the last several episodes, when she's been on screen, it's like we see her in the first episode of the season. She's very down on herself. She's like, all my forces left me because I don't have the Darksaber anymore, and I'm a bad leader. So it's like, what are you doing, coming to me for help? It's like, you should leave because I'm worthless. Then the next episode, she's like, I'm worthless. I told you that. Why are you? Oh, it's the little kid. Hi, cutie. Where's Dad? What? Oh, he fell in a well? Actually, hasn't fallen in the well yet. Right now, he's been captured by a Bionicle. But then, all right, let's go rescue him, and then he'll fall in a well. so she immediately jumps into action, and then and saves Din and everything, and then we didn't really see her too much last episode, but she was okay with being accepted into the cult. At Q welcome Squidward memes that were just everywhere that week afterward, and then and then now she's just kind of like, okay, she's chilling, just kind of figuring out her new role and everything in this new society. There's all these other Mandalorians that she's never met before, but they're still Mandalorians, so she has some kinship with all of them and everything. And they're training, and she's kind of just sticking around Din and Grogu, like, these are the people I know. I don't really know the rest of you yet. Yay! And then a dragon basically comes out of nowhere and steals little Ragnar Vizsla. So I don't think I brought this up because everyone else was bringing it up, so I just felt it'd be redundant if I just parroted the exact same thing. So I don't think I brought this up in my review for the first episode of the season. But everyone that was thinking that the new Mando kid that they had the christening for and everything, everyone was pretty sure, just based on his new helmet colors, that he was probably Paz Vizsla's son. That is correct. He is indeed Paz Vizsla's son. And that's cool. I like that, the foundlings are a integral part of Mandalorian society, that if you find, an orphan child out there that you think exhibits Mandalorian traits as a Mandalorian, then you can adopt them into your clan and raise them as a Mandalorian, as has happened, many times before. So that's a really cool part of Mandalorian culture, but at the same time, it's like, they're still continuing their own bloodlines and everything, and of course, I'm assuming this is his actual, flesh and blood son. This could be a foundling that he discovered. because it is well, where was this kid before? Like, did you only find him in the last year or something? But he called him dad so quickly and easily, so I feel like that this probably is his actual, flesh and blood son. Um, don't know if there's any family resemblance yet because of we've never seen Paz without his helmet off. So it's like, does he look a lot like Pre Vizsla? Does he look like Jon Favreau? Because he sounds like Jon Favreau. So who knows? So yeah. But I do like that just little building up the family ties with the Mandalorian. It's like, yes, this is his son. It's like, so where was he in the first couple seasons? It's like, he could have been away with another covert or something, since it seemed a little bit like their camp on Navarro was maybe a little bit squished. They're living in the sewers. There wasn't really much room for them. They could only go up one at a time, and such, as they mentioned. So, so yeah, I don't. So yeah, I'm questioning where this kid was, but maybe he was there the entire time, and we just never saw him, because we did see some kids on Navarro. So he could have been there in the background. Well, not even by the background. I mean, he was there, but he was just off screen because the character didn't quote unquote exist yet. And so now they can go, oh yeah, he was there, we just didn't see him. And that he's my son line was directed towards Bo-Katan, who would be the only person who didn't know that, where Din and the other Mandalorians or the other children of the Watch would definitely know that. Having been part of that clan for a while. So yeah, no, I like that connective tissue. I do agree with what other people on the internet are saying, is that he just needs to stay away from just stay inside, because the last time he was outside, he got attacked by a giant crocodile. This time he got attacked by a dragon or giant pterodactyl or whatever whatever you want to call it, giant reptilian flying creature. So yeah, just Ragnar Vizsla, you're grounded. Stay inside for your own safety and everyone else's. So I just thought that was a little bit funny. But I think I said it last week, where I'm like, so are they going to go to Navarro now? Because Grief Karga needs some marshals and needs some help defending the planet from pirates and stuff, because this place isn't safe. You got giant crocodiles, you got giant pterodactyl dragon things flying around snatching kids. That wasn't they mentioned this is not the only one the giant creature has snagged. So it's like, move. Why are you still there? Move. I know that it takes some effort to move the forge for the armorer. But if there's giant creatures flying around and your blasters don't really do much against, we've seen that the stuff that they have doesn't really do too much good. Yeah, move. Find another planet. It's like they're Mandalorians. And that's probably why they haven't moved. It's like, we're Mandalorians. We're tough. We can do it. And oh no, little Jimmy just got carried off by the dragon. Drat. Where's Susan? She's at the grocery store? Okay, let's, we got about a half hour before she gets back to break the news to her that little Jimmy just got carried off by the pterodactyl creature. So I would move. I mean, if giant creatures keep trying to eat you, then you can't really continue to be Mandalorians if you've all been eaten. So yeah, move. It's time to move. Come on, armor. Tell everyone to pack their bags. It's time to move. I really hope that is like how the next episode, this next episode opens up, with them all around in like a council meeting or whatever. And it's like, it's like, it's their weekly meeting. It's like, okay, Greg, you have an issue with Tom. Now this is constructive criticism time. We can talk about our feelings openly here, and if you still disagree afterward, then you can go spar and you'll pummel each other afterward to work out your differences. But for right now, this is the time where we all come together and talk as a group about our problems and stuff. Okay, who's up for? Oh, Armor, you're up first. Okay, what do you want to say? He's like, we need to leave. This is the way. This is the way. Everyone just gets up and starts packing their bags. It's like Bo-Katan has a ship that will now fit all of us, so we don't have to leave one at a time as as people like take turns in Din Djarin's N1 in sitting in the droid slot. So so it's like we are now we it's like, but I do question how they got there in the first place. Like is that another reason why they haven't left, is that whatever transport they came on is toast at this point? So I am kind of curious, you know, if that's because if their transport is toast, then yeah, they can't get off world. And again, it's like they're not going to be just ferrying Mandalorians to and fro one at a time in the droid slot of an N1 starfighter. It's like Grogu can fit in there, and it still looks a little small for him. So imagine trying to squeeze Paz Vizsla into the big beefy Paz Vizsla. Imagine trying to squish him into that droid slot, and it's just him all scrunched up, and he's like, "I'm not happy with this situation at all." It's like, this is the way. This is the way. Which is just code for shut up and take it. I don't know why I'm laughing so much in this review today. It's maybe because there's not like an actual whole lot of story content here to talk about. Because the main plot was a little light, minus the flashback, which I'll talk on here in a moment, I promise. But yeah, it is just kind of funny. I think so it's like, are you gonna move? Please move. I don't want to see any more Mandalorians get eaten by crocodiles. You're too cool to get eaten by crocodiles. But yeah, a little. I feel like that was an obvious allusion to Jurassic World, by the way, when they tied up the big dragon creature and it got free in the water and started to fly away again. And then the giant crocodile came out and ate it like that. I mean, that was pretty obvious. Yeah, that was Jurassic World. where the Zara, or whatever her name is, gets carried up into the air by the pteranodons and dropped into the water, and then the Mosasaurus comes out and chomps both of them. Just hilariously over the top death for this character that was really such a sea level character in that movie. I love Jurassic World. I really really like that movie. I think it's really good. But anyway, we're not talking about Jurassic World, so yeah, but yeah, the point behind all of this is that I think it's really important that they're showing how Bo is still a natural leader, and maybe she is still fit to wield the Darksaber and lead the Mandalorians, despite maybe what she thinks. So it's like, is it going to be Din who's going to do it? Is it going to be Bo-Katan? They seem to be focusing. Din just wants to be the best dad there is. It's like, all right, I'm going to start teaching you how to train as a Mandalorian. Look, we got a little gauntlet that fits you. You're going to play some little paintball, and it's going to be fun. And then where Bo is still not really sure about her place in Mandalorian society at the moment, and I think that this, at least after this episode, I feel like that there is a more obvious Bo is going to be the leader, because this is her arc, and this season is her regaining, after years and years of, because the last time she tried to lead Mandalore, the purge happened and Moff Gideon stole her sword. So I feel like that'd be a little demoralizing. And then, like, you spend the next couple years just hanging out with kind of just a few people every now and then. It's like, oh, hey, X-Woves, you gonna leave? Okay, bye. I guess it's just me and Casca Reeves. Oh, no, she's gone too now. So it's like, slowly everyone starts to leave you, even your most diehard companions. It's like, Bo, I really respect you. But Axe called, and he's got a mercenary job, and it pays. So I know that's. I mean, we're Mandalorians. We're like the perfect bounty hunters. So I'm just gonna go because I need credits. Sorry, you're not paying as much as I would like. It's like, I'm not paying you at all. Yeah, I know. That's kind of the point. Okay, bye. Like, Casca just pieces out, and then Bo's just left sulking on her throne. And it's like, well, at least I have you, Mr. Robot Droid, Mr. Butler Droid. And it's like, I would shut down if I left the castle, Your Highness. I am literally forced to stay here. Otherwise, I would go too. I hate you. so yeah, no, I'm very interested to see what they do with Bo the rest of the season. It seems like that's the direction they're leading her in. Is that still a natural leader? Everyone in the clan, in the Children of the Watch are now kind of gaining respect for her after she's been an apostate for however long. And they're like, okay, no, she does have stuff to offer. She isn't this, like, scourge on Mandalorian society that we maybe thought she was. And and her eventually. It's like, but and that's the thing is, is she gonna have to fight Din for the dark saber? How would that go if she were to be leader? And it's like and then maybe this whole thing at the end of the season is leading up to, can we be done with the stupid helmet rule? I understand following the wrestle nair and the these 6 tenets of Mandalorian society, and maybe being, and going back to more traditionalist route a little bit, but do we have to abide by the helmet thing? It's dumb. Maybe some traditions can be shirked, and and it's like, look, I'm riding the mythosaur. My helmet fell off, yes, but I've still got the dark saber. I'm riding the mythosaur, and it's not bucking me off. So clearly, it likes me, and it feels like I am the true heir. Are we good with this? And everyone just kind of mumbles, "This is the way." And she's like, "Oh, we're not doing that either." So everyone just kind of slowly takes off their helmets, and it's like, okay, yeah, we're good with that. And then it's Jon Favreau's Paz Vizsla. but like they've given him a scar down his eye or something, like something like that. I don't know. So yeah, I'm very curious to see where they go with that. So that's really kind of like the whole actual part of the Mandalorian part of this Mandalorian episode with the actual Mandalorians. But of course, the title works both ways, because the title being the Foundling, kind of like how a lot of the titles in this season so far can be taken different ways. Because the first episode is the Apostate. Obviously, that means more Din Djarin, but it reintroduces Bo-Katan, and she's an apostate. Then you have the Mines of Mandalore, which is an important thing for both of them. Then you have, I'm trying to make sure I'm not skipping one. Yeah. Then you have the Convert, which, yes, we are mostly following Dr. Pershing, but then Bo is also accepted into the Children of the Watch, which previously she had said, this is this weird cult that I don't like. And now she's in it, so she's been converted. She is a convert. And now this episode is the Foundling. So obviously we would think that that's Grogu, because the episode opens on Grogu, and of course the little hermit crab seashell rock things. And I love that the moment Din carries him away, the rest of them, they're like, flee back to the water. The thing tried to eat us several times. Because he's just a baby. He's such a cute baby. So that was funny. But so you think it's about Grogu, but then you see the title is about Grogu, but then of course Bo's still trying to find her way in this new society. So in a lot of ways, she's the Foundling. So I find it interesting how like all these titles can be pointed back to Bo-Katan, but they can be pointed back. But then Grogu still has a big part of this episode, because he's still one of the central characters of the show, which I really appreciate. And so, we see once more an extended Order 66 flashback. It's like, take a shot. For every time a Star Wars property in the last 3 years has given us an Order 66 flashback. It's like, all right, here's some T-Har. Here's some Mandalorian whiskey. Where it's like, fill her up, boy. Get your shot glasses, because we're gonna take a shot every time when there's an Order 66 sequence in the last 3 years of Star Wars. Oh boy, that's like 5 shots. So, oh boy, yeah. So another extended Order 66 sequence. I'm okay with that, because, like I said a couple weeks ago, it is like this huge climactic moment in Star Wars history. So the fact that we are seeing it so much makes sense. It's like the Death Star is being destroyed and stuff. I mean, these are really big, important events in galactic history. So it makes sense that we're going back to them and stuff. So yeah, more Jedi getting gunned down, more clones getting, stabbed or sliced or force pushed off balconies and stuff. And I just go, oh, I know they're evil right now because of the chips in their brains, but oh, sad. Temuera Morrison voicing them again, which is always nice to hear. I like hearing Tim's voice in the live action. Dee just owns that role so much for animation. So his work on like Clone Wars and the Bad Batch and stuff, it's like, yeah, no, it's that he's perfect for that. He has such a great range for that. But going back to the actual original source for like the live action stuff, the quote unquote real Star Wars, as I'm sure some people have said, it's like, oh, I don't watch the animated stuff. It's not, I will only watch the real Star Wars. Whatever. It's all Star Wars. It's all real. But yeah, it's always fun to hear Tim as the clone troopers because he does play them differently than Boba Fett or Jango Fett. He does play them as soldiers as opposed to, you know, Boba. You know, depending on the version of Boba, if it's Empire Strikes Back Boba or Book of Boba Fett Boba, it's like, you know, he's a little gruff. You know, he is this. You know, what if he doesn't survive? It's worth a lot to me. You know, very very gruff and selfish sounding. But then you get him in and Book of Boba Fett, and it is very much that the Peloponnesian spa. It's like that's the Boba that we get a lot in Book of Boba Fett, which I really like. And of course, Django is his own kind of breed of rough and gruff. But you know, the clones like Commander Cody and all the clones he's ever played, you know, he always plays them very much like soldiers. It is cool to see that range from Tim when he does that. So to hear it's like, yo, we have targets on sublevel 11538, or you know, whatever the numbers are. It's like blast them, you know. Hearing all that, it's like, you know, it's soldiers, you know, all share the same face and voice and everything. But it's like, gosh, I just hate to see especially the poor 501st guys just getting gunned, you know, not even gunned down, but you know, sliced up and stuff. But so sad. But I mean that's part of what makes Order 66 so tragic is that the perpetrators of it wouldn't even necessarily wanted to do it. I mean, an army of 1 million plus people or whatever, I'm sure there's probably, especially people that previously served with General Krell, I'm sure you'd maybe find a handful that, you know, are like, okay, yeah, I'm cool with killing the Jedi. I'll do this voluntarily. But a lot of the other clones, a vast majority of other clones are going to be like, no way, Jose. And what you're going to have to explain to me with a PowerPoint presentation why I should be doing this. And even then I'm going to be, you know, maybe not exactly 100% on board. It's like, okay, time to activate the chips. It's like, yes, sir. So, but of course, the bigger thing about this, you know, aside from it just being an Order 66 flashback, is that we actually get to see who saved Grogu from Order 66, and it is, of course, Kelleran Beck, the Jedi Master that oversaw the training of younglings at the temple, as seen in the YouTube series Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge. And of course, he's played by the one, the only Ahmed Best, which was so awesome. The internet's been freaking out about it last week, and for good reason, because he so deserved this. I'm honestly surprised they didn't give him more screen time because it's a lengthy flashback. And I mean, they give him a big dramatic hero reveal. I mean, there's going to be so many randos out there that are going, I have no idea who this person is. And even it even took me a moment because, you know, he's 20 years older from like, because I'm used to like looking at like old set photos from like the Phantom Menace and stuff. So he's 20, 30 years older than he was then. So it even took me a moment. I'm like, oh shoot, it's Ahmed Best. You know, it's like, I think he was already fighting the clone troopers when it kicked in. I'm like, oh right, it's his Jedi Temple Challenges character. That's awesome. And it's not the exact costume. Like they gave him some special like gold patterns on his robes and stuff. And I think in that he had a purple lightsaber, but I guess they probably didn't want to make people go, "Oh, it's Mace Windu," for the people that, you know, are dumb. And you know, that was mean. I apologize. It's like there's going to be a lot of normies out there watching this because they think, "Oh, cute baby Yoda" and stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's best not to confuse them with the purple lightsaber. And it's like, you know, it's like, oh, so only the black guys can get purple lightsabers? It's like, eh. So. And also, it's like Jedi Temple Challenge, not necessarily canon. So it's like the character is obviously canon now, especially. But that show itself probably is. Like, all right, let's get into a debate. Is the YouTube series Jedi Temple Challenge canon to the Star Wars canon? is it a story that counts? Since it's, you know, Legends of the Hidden Temple basically, but for Star Wars, which is, you know, cool. Haven't actually seen it, by the way. I definitely have more of an interest in watching it now. When they announced it and they came out with it, I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool. I need to watch that, and I just never have. But yeah, no, giving Ahmed Best the kind of redemption story, and then it's like, and it's not even, and there's a good comment somewhere on the internet that people have been reposting here and there, where it's like, this is not redemption for Ahmed Best. This is redemption for the Star Wars fandom. It's like, okay, don't bully him this time. Don't bully him so bad he contemplates suicide. It's like, can we please stop bullying people that are actors in Star Wars? Stop it. Just stop it. Hayden Christensen, poor guy. obviously Jake Lloyd arguably scarred him for life, and it's because I remember a couple years ago he got arrested for like DWI or something. It's like, would that have maybe happened if he didn't get bullied as a kid for being in Star Wars and everyone kind of hating him? And then, of course, more recently, Kelly Marie Tran, John Boyega, Daisy Ridley. I don't think anyone really has given Oscar Isaac too much grief. But it's like, let's just stop making fun, or making fun is too innocent. It is bullying. It's like, let's stop with the bullying of people that work on Star Wars, that are the actors that are in Star Wars. It's like, I don't, and people did not like Ahsoka when she first debuted, but I don't remember anyone actually personally, like saying, "Oh, I hope Ashley Johnson like dies in a hole or something." I don't think I remember seeing any of that at the time. But it's like people wanting that for the character, sure, but I don't think people really. I just called her Ashley Johnson. I apologize, Ashley Eckstein. That sounded wrong when it left my mouth, but Ashley Johnson, of course, is Ellie in the Last of Us video game, and of course that show just wrapped up recently, the first season of course, and she's in it for a minute as Ellie's mom. Spoilers, I guess, but if you cared, you already would have watched. But so that's why I said Ashley Johnson instead of Ashley Eckstein. It's like Ashley Eckstein is the voice of Ahsoka Tano. So yeah, I don't remember anyone bullying Ashley Eckstein. But yeah, no, this is a good moment where it's like, okay, we're bringing Ahmed Best back. Let's not, let's not bully him or anyone else that is an actor on Star Wars ever again, please. And him getting this really good action scene and being the one that saved Grogu, which of course is this now beloved character in Star Wars, because it's like it's like not only is it's like he's marketable, and so there's a lot of merchandise that could be made with him, but I haven't seen anyone go, oh, like with the Ewoks or the Porgs or anything. It's like, oh, this just exists to sell more toys. I'm a jaded old man, blah 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 blah, and be really upset about Grogu. I haven't seen that about Grogu. That it still pops up on occasion, and like people go, or people go off on certain, and even then the Porgs weren't really designed to be marketable and to sell more toys. That was like a happy byproduct of the fact that the island they were filming on was covered with puffins, and there were so many puffins there, it would have been more expensive to CG them out than to leave them in and just design a whole new creature with puppets and CG and stuff to add on. So that way, if you see one flying around in the background of a shot, then it's like, okay, it's a porg. It's not a puffin. It's a porg. So I mean, the fact that it was cute, it had the big eyes and you could sell plush toys of it, total happy accident there. So, and even then, I mean, you hear Lucas talk about this whole, something exists in Star Wars solely to sell toys. I've never really bought that idea, because even the Ewoks, people say that, oh, that was just to boost toy sales. But you hear and maybe I'm just a hook, line, sinker. I drink the Lucas Kool-Aid or whatever. But with the Ewoks, you hear Lucas talk about, like, in the original drafts for Return of the Jedi and stuff, and it was originally supposed to be, Endor was originally supposed to be Kashyyyk, and they were originally supposed to be Wookiees, but then they didn't have the budget or the logistics to do that or whatever, so they changed them to Ewoks in rewrites and stuff. It's like I buy that. I've never had a reason to doubt that, and maybe that's, again, like I said, maybe it's just because I am a I'm just I drink the Lucas Kool-Aid, as I said, but because I don't know if, and of course I was not born in 1983. Far, I was a long ways away from being born, because I wasn't born until 1998. So I was definitely not around when Return of the Jedi was out, so I don't know if the Ewoks were this huge phenomenon, and maybe if I had lived through that, maybe I would be more, it's like, oh, those totally just existed to sell toys, even if I liked them or whatever. But I don't know. It's like, in the many, 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 many years since Return of the Jedi has come out, I mean, you still see Ewoks on merchandise and stuff, but I've never looked at the Ewoks and gone, that's just to sell toys. So anyway, that's just me. So, but yeah, no, really, really cool that they gave Ahmed Best his due here, because he deserved it. Lucasfilm really kind of owed him, even though it wasn't their fault, what happened, because and it's so funny because I mean I've seen snippets of like writings of interviews that like um Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor and or not Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman. I think it's those two specifically. I've seen snippets of interviews from them from like 1998 after they had filmed the movie, but it was still being worked on in post before it released in '99, where they were talking, it's like, oh yeah, we have this one guy on set, and like he's like a completely made up computer character, and he's played by this one guy, and he's doing this kind of really old fashioned like Charlie Chaplin, Three Stooges type slapstick in the middle of the Star Wars movie, and we didn't really get it at first, but then we listened to George and he explained it, and then we saw what he was doing, and we're like, oh, this guy's a genius, because like, yeah, this is exactly paying homage to this old stuff, and it does fit the story and the themes of what he's going through stuff, and fans are really going to like this Jar Jar Binks character. And then the exact opposite happened. So it's like, and it just kind of caught everyone by surprise in a lot of ways, I feel like. And again, maybe that's just me drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe that was just their media training or whatever. And George was like, I know people are going to hate Jar Jar, but you need to go talk them up to maybe convince people otherwise. That's my George Lucas impression, by the way. So, and maybe that's how it happened, but I don't know. So regardless of whether or not that's how it happened, I think the severity of the fan outrage surrounding Jar Jar has always been way overplayed, and especially not fair to Ahmed Best, who did what was asked of him. Looking at it, especially as an adult now, I understand people not caring for Jar Jar. I mean, he's far from my favorite character in Star Wars. There's so many better characters than Jar Jar Binks, but I don't mind him. He's silly, but it's like I don't think he's overused in Phantom Menace all that much. I think he's in there the perfect amount, where it's like, at least for me. But again, if like you just really detest Jar Jar and you can't even stand the sight of him, even if he's not opening his mouth, then it's like, yeah, no, any additional screen time in that movie, people aren't gonna like. And Phantom Menace is just a different type of Star Wars movie than the original trilogy was. So I don't know. I think some people just like weren't ready for what Phantom Menace was when it came out in '99. But that not to stir up the whole prequel debate and everything again. But it's like, regardless of how you feel on those, I think everyone can agree that love him or hate him, the outrage towards Jar Jar has been way overblown for way too long, and that wasn't really necessarily Lucasfilm's fault. But it's very nice to see that they're giving him a shot here, and okay, here's our kind of apology for what happened to you. We're making it up to you, even though it wasn't our fault. It's like you get to be the one that saves Grogu. That's really cool. I really like that. I really like that a lot. And of course, even the fact that that he lands on that platform, and it's a Naboo ship, and there's Naboo guards, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, if Natalie Portman walks down that ramp in like the same kind of flowy robes that she had on in Revenge of the Sith, and like they're saying that this scene happened between a couple scenes in Revenge of the Sith, I am going to lose my freaking mind. But no, they didn't do that. They didn't do that. For a moment there, I really thought they were. But no, but is this somehow tied to Padme? Maybe. But then another theory is that, maybe this is actually tied to Jar Jar, because we see Jar Jar twice in Revenge of the Sith. Once at the beginning of the movie at the Senate building, and then again at the very end where he's at Padme's funeral with Boss Nass. Those are the only times we see Jar Jar in the movie, and he has one line, which I'm pretty sure is even just taken from Phantom Menace, which is an "excuse me" line, because he accidentally bumps into Orn Free Taa, and you just hear him say "excuse me," which I'm pretty sure is from the meal scene on Tatooine at the Skywalker house. where he burps after eating the apple or whatever, the space apple. I'm pretty sure it's just taken from that. And it's not even that audible. It's like in the background. You can only hear it if you have good surround sound at home. So um so I think it would just be really, really, really funny if Kelleran Beck gets on this ship with Grogu. And maybe maybe they're going to leave the rest of it open to interpretation. They're not going to explore it more. But if the next episode has another flashback and like they go to Naboo and Jar Jar Binks comes out of the hangar or something, and and Jar Jar starts like this smuggling network for Jedi younglings or something, because Jar Jar is a big friend of the Jedi and everything, as much as they might find him annoying. Like a lot of people. That's gonna be a stand up and applaud moment from me. Forget Luke Skywalker coming back at the end of season 2. You madman, you did it. You brought back Jar Jar Binks. It's like, and it's just Ahmed Best playing against himself or whatever, because he's Kelleran Beck and he's also Jar Jar Binks. So it's like not a long scene, just a small little bit there, and it's like of course it'd be improved Jar Jar CGI and everything, and it's so funny because when the season started, or like right before the season started, I was talking with some people I know at work that are also into Star Wars. And one of them said as a joke, well, what if Jar Jar Binks is the one that saved Grogu? And I said, oh, could you just imagine? Well, no, not even the idea that he saved Grogu, but what if they just put Jar Jar in the Mandalorian in general? And I said, oh, that would actually be really, really funny. I can just imagine the fan outrage where it's like the armor goes, we need to find a great warrior to help us on this quest, and it's like, and we need a great general. It's like this guy was a general. And it's like, hello, this is the way, or something like that. And so we all kind of laughed about that, at the absurdity of Jar Jar being in The Mandalorian. But then Kelleran Beck shows up, and I'm like, that's Ahmed Best. So in a kind of funny way, Jar Jar Binks is, because it's Ahmed Best, is responsible for saving Grogu. And now it's like, well, but there's like an actual tangible possibility that like Jar Jar Binks could actually be connected to saving Grogu, more than it just being the coincidence of it being the same actor, with it being the Naboo ship and the Royal Guard is there. Jar Jar could totally be connected to that, and it'd totally be plausible. And I just think that would be amazing. I am a, the movies have their faults, sure, but I love the prequels despite those faults, like the sequels. It's like I just love Star Wars in general. So being able to come back to a story or a character years and years later, and put a fresh spin on it, or like do that character justice when some people don't think that character was done justice before, I'm just always a fan of that idea. And it especially works better because this time it won't have to be a character resurrection, because they did that with Maul, but that was a character resurrection. They've had to do that with Boba Fett, but that's technically, I guess, maybe a character resurrection, since for all intents and purposes him falling in the Sarlacc was a death. Even though it's always been plausible that he survived that because of the armor and everything. And they've done that with characters here and there, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, bringing Bo-Katan to live action, just really cool. And then it's like, even down to, while I disagree with some of the execution, Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker, the story reasons around that are dumb, and it's like, well, it's nice that Mando and Bad Batch seem to actually be leading up to that, so it's not as out of nowhere. But still, that decrepit, decaying Emperor body and the more bass boosted voice and everything, and like the glossed over eyes, is just really creepy. And Ian McDermott was like, I loved that, and I'm like, I just wish the script was better, because I am actually loving this right now. It's like, what could you offer me? Just everything. It's like just the lightning, and it's like, okay, that was really cool. It's like I could do without him going granddaughter, but it's like the eternal Sith will rise once again, or whatever. It's like that. It's Ian McDermott as Emperor Palpatine. I mean, you gotta love it. So I always get tickled when they bring back characters like that. And again, hopefully it's done well. That's always the thing. It's like, hopefully they do it well. So, I mean, if they bring back Jar Jar Binks in The Mandalorian, which I didn't think I'd be saying a year ago, with any hint of possibility in it, I'm down for it. I'm totally down for it. And if they release a Jar Jar toy based on The Mandalorian, like, one of the vintage style Kenner toys or whatever, it's like, will I buy that to put on my, to put with my other, it's like little collectibles I have? Yes, I will. Yes, I will indeed, because that is pretty dang cool. So yeah, and I think that really covers this entire episode. I've talked about 40 minutes for this, one episode, and I didn't really think there's a whole lot to talk about, but that tends to happen when I think there's not a whole lot to talk about, and sometimes when there is a whole lot to talk about, I don't talk nearly as long. So, but it just gave me more room to talk about other things and speculate and stuff. I just love talking Star Wars. I don't know if you can tell that. I just really love talking about Star Wars. So, yeah. So yeah, that's going to be it for this review. I really liked this episode. I am very much ready for next week and the next 4 episodes of this season to see how things pan out. And I guess I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Mando Mondays. So thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. Remember to follow me on Instagram. Those links are down in the description below. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.